how the story ends. We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Welcome to another episode of the Cat Podcast. As you can see, Leo has joined us today for our special guest.
Everybody loves the dogs, but everybody knows cats rule the world, man. Tell you what. What's up, Leo? How you doing, buddy?
Especially this one.
Man, my cats have definitely been resistant to the alpha dog coming to the domain, but sometimes, you know, you got to have a little balancing of the ecosystem, if you will.
Have they been like, have they been, because he's a puppy, right? Like, have they been
Big old
trying
puppy.
to get used to him as a puppy?
Hey, speaking of puppies, welcome to the Professional Hippies podcast, by the way. Sorry to not do an intro. We are kind of the bridge, if you will, between the hippie woo-woo and the professional side of things. You wouldn't know it opening up talking about cats and dogs, but what more appropriate to introduce you to our material than cat dog? So, yeah, he is just a handful, bro. Like, the cool part is now, so I have a puppy. It's about 4 months old. His name's Kai, German Shepherd. Man, it's the funniest thing to see their paws like explode and their ears explode. Like he's totally not proportionally built right now. Like his frame is just all over the place. So he's like constantly trying to figure out, like when he walks, it's like a stallion. You know, he's like clock, clock, clock. I'm just like, what are you doing, man?
Still trying to figure it out. How I run full speed.
Dude, it's so cool though. Just seeing him kind of like develop and learn. And I've had a lot of German Shepherds, so I think this is the first one that I've ever had from like a puppy. You know, we brought him home. He was like a little mini watermelon. So yeah, man.
You gotta have so much energy pent up in there.
So much. Well, the cool part is too, like one of the things that I dig about life is that play is how we learn coordination. Like that's the idea, right? Behind why we play is to figure out balance, control, those kind of things. So you got to remind yourself when he's pissing you off and gnawing on you, what he's doing it for. You know, he doesn't know. He's just playing. He's just figuring out his world. And that's kind of how he interacts, is getting mouthy with things. But yeah, dude, he fucks Dad up. He doesn't bite Mom at all.
Yeah,
he
reminds
fucks
me
me
of
up.
My dad giving me, empty beer can chimes when I was younger to play with those. Get ready for life as you get older.
Empty beer can chimes? Say it. Doesn't so.
You never got that? Joking.
Like, what?
You were saying like it's all play, to learn hand-eye coordination, and that's why they throw the cans at you to try to catch them.
Did your dad smoke cigarettes? Does he smoke?
Oh yeah, still smoke cigarettes.
How old were you when you first got curious and tried a cigarette?
Probably not till like 16, 17, just to try.
Really?
I remember when I was younger, he would my mom didn't like at the time growing up, she didn't like weed, and so we would always go down to, he would be like, "Oh honey, I'm gonna take we're gonna go to the playground or something, up the road," and we go down to a boat landing and he'd start smoking, and I always thought he was smoking a cigarette, and I remembered the smell, and so I just always kind of adhered that smell to like a cigarette growing up. And he also smoked cigarettes, but I just thought it was a different type of cigarette when I was really young. And as I got older, and then I remember going to like my first kind of like party, growing up, and then I smelled, it was weed, and I was like, holy shit, he was smoking weed the whole time.
You're like, wait a second. Wait a second.
I remember that. Now, it always made fun. It always made sense after that why he would get sketched out when like a cop would come down there.
To the boat ramp?
Yeah, just taking my son to the boat ramp, just checking it out.
But your mom wasn't cool with it, so he like kind of, that was a little shiesty.
Yeah, that was his way around things,
Yeah.
try to.
I'm gonna go
or,
take.
you know,
I'm
she
gonna
didn't
go
like the
bomb with my
cigarettes
boy.
either, but
You know, I need to take the sun out. We need to get down there and
let me
catch-
go
catch
spend
a
some
couple
quality
bluegill.
bonding time and get out, go play with the lily pads.
yeah.
I figured out many ways of how to build a slingshot out there.
Dude, I tell you what, man, it's so funny growing up. Kids don't really know what's what. And did you ever you had the DARE program in school, right?
Yeah, it taught us how to use drugs.
I didn't know if that was like a state thing, national thing, city thing, whatever.
I think it's a government run program.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know if it's still going or not. Anyway, I remember them wheeling in this big I don't even know, like the Harry Potter thing, right? Like instead of snacks, it was drugs. So instead of chocolate covered dragons, it was drugs. And
Ours was like a board.
oh yeah, they had the board for you. Okay,
Presentation
that's
board.
cute. Yeah, right. But they
On the
did it
bag.
so sneaky. They're like, "Hey, who recognizes? Whose families have this box, right?" And so I'm like looking at cocaine. And I see the green one. I remember whispering to my buddy, "I'm like, do you know what that one is?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "I've seen that one, that one, that one, that one." And I just thought that was like a really clever way, because kids don't know, right? Like I tattled on my brothers when my brother's like, "Hey, don't tell dad, whatever." And my dad got pissed off because they would steal his cigarettes. And I don't know how old I must have been 7, 8. And my dad goes, "Buddy, you seen your brothers take any daddy cigarettes?" And I was like, No, they just rolled one. He's like, "What do you mean?" And so I had walked in on them rolling a joint. So they're like, "No, these aren't dad's. These are green cigarettes." And I just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So I didn't think they were getting in trouble at all. And I was like, no. They just rolled a green cigarette. And he was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah." And I hear them getting their ass beat. I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, yeah.
Environmentally friendly.
Green cigarettes are
I
bad.
did have my first taste of alcohol at 5 that I can remember because I saw my dad drinking a Budweiser, helping my family move in, like grandparents move into a place. I just saw the can he was drinking out of the back of a tailgate, and I was just like, "Wonder what this is." I drank it, put it down, was like, "Nope, don't like that. That's not good."
Spicy.
But I do remember that specific taste when I drank it.
I remember it tasting like pepper. I was probably 10 years old. I grew up in a real alcoholic family. I was like, I gotta try it. Didn't like it. Didn't really care for it at that age.
A real alcoholic family. This thing's causing a lot of problems. You should see if I like it.
You don't know what you don't know. I mean, at that age, it's so weird. When I say real alcoholic family, I mean it was a real alcoholic father. Great dad. I mean, I tell you what, here's what makes a difference. If you wonder if you're going to be a good parent or not, all you got to do is really try. Just genuinely give an effort.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't heard one person that I think most parents really love their kids, right? That's like a human built-in thing. My dad worked so hard to get past his own shit, but just couldn't. He just did sometimes he'd throw his hands up. He's like, "I don't know why the fuck I'm doing the same shit over and over." He's like, "I don't want to do it, but I'm still doing it." Love you, dude. And you just see that and you're like, okay, he's trying. That hits you in the feels. You're like, all right, he doesn't know why he's doing it either. So that's cool. So we had this nice, do as I say, not as I do. I think that was the rule growing up. Because especially when it came to money, he's like, "I'm fucking broke. I don't know. You'll figure it out." So,
I had the same thing growing up. It was like, do as I say, not as I do. But then the problem was I would get in an argument and be like, "But what you're saying is wrong." I get where you're coming from. But even that's not good here. And then I would argue it because he doesn't want me to do what he's doing. I'm like, I'm not even going to do what you're doing. And I'm not going to do what you're even saying.
At what
go a whole
age did
nother
you feel like
direction.
you were smarter than your parents? Did you ever felt that way? Did you have that kind of moment?
I felt that age when I realized I was going to college pretty easily. I was like, oh, I'm graduating with very smart. I'm doing all these different extracurricular activities. I'm going to they didn't go to college or graduate even, at least. So I think I realized that pretty on. And then I realized that too as well when they were kind of like pushing me too. Like, hey, we want you to get out there. You kind of don't be here. I also realized I don't say I was ever smarter than my parents because like they're always going to have the upper hand on like life experiences and stuff. But there were definitely instances where like my dad realized I was very smart, right? Where he was like, hey, go to college, don't work construction and break your back like I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because he knew like, you'll be fine. Yeah. Like you shouldn't do this. You're smart enough to be above this type of situation. And my mom was kind of the same way too of like, let's get you to college because you're going to do really good in life. I can tell. So like they kind of like encouraged it. And I kind of realized it was just the, also above my own britches. Cause what my dad always says, like, you always have something to say to argue back. Like you always have something to argue back with. And I'm like, cause I'm just smart.
Not much has changed, buddy. You are an argumentative son of a bitch.
I know I am, you know, I always think I'm smarter than everybody else. And then sometimes, a lot of times, like,
I think, so here's probably the reason why we've gotten along as far as we have. Austin was the one to point this out to me, I believe. And Michael, one of the two, but the other definitely doubled down. And I quote, my infallible ability to double down on something until I know I'm wrong. Whereas your character trait is, I can show you explicitly where you're wrong. Could give a fuck. Could give a fuck. I mean, man, you will double down to the nth degree on something.
I will. Chrissy tells me that a lot too.
That does not matter. But like, if it's critical, there's something that like just clicks onto your brain, and you're just like, okay, yeah, no, I'm open to it. Yeah, sure.
or I'll really think I'm right, and then just so I can, I guess, get that right then and there, and then some time will go by and be like, actually, now that I've had some really time to think about this, I was wrong.
Well, we all have our flaws, and you know, one of the things that I wanted to open up earlier that we talked about before the podcast was a trip report. I don't think did I tell you I was going camping last Friday?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, well, I did text you. We're communicating about something. I was like, hey man, I'm just having a tough time. I don't know what it was that was going on. I was just like,
I remember that.
Mentally, I was like, I don't know, feel like in a funk. And we all have funks and stuff, right? But I've been like feeling this pressure and like anxiety, and it's weird. Like, I don't know, it started like a couple months ago, and it's a weird feeling when you want to cry, but you can't. You know what I mean?
It's a dang cook.
It's
bit.
Yeah, did you reference that? Yeah. So I mean, when I talk about just like internal pressure, man, it's like, God damn, I feel like a kettle that rather explode than hiss. So yeah, at some point I just realized, hey man, I need to go out to the woods. I need to reconnect with nature. And for anybody that's listening that's not familiar, I'm in Austin, Texas, and so it's not exactly like comfortable camping weather here. I was like, fuck it. I mean, I got to get out there. And so Abby was cool with me just taking off on a Friday, and I cleared my schedule for that day and took a fishing pole and packed up my camping gear and went out to a campground out here. And yeah, man, just had to get back in nature. You know, it actually wasn't incredibly hot. I mean, it was toasty, but it was bearable. And I took a bunch of mushrooms with me. And I think the last time that I tripped on myself was probably about a decade ago. And it was a really significant moment for me in my life. And I just felt like, hey, I just need to kind of reconnect to myself and just see what's coming up. It's weird when you don't know. Like my mom used to say when I was growing up, she was like, I need a vacation, right? Like it's weird when you don't know why you need that thing, but you feel a calling towards something. And so I just honored what was coming up for me, and I got out into the woods. And I think the coolest thing about that was that the intention going into it was no real expectation. Just like, hey, whatever comes up, comes up. But to skip to the fun part, didn't catch any fucking fish. Bought a fishing license for nothing. I I bought some cool stuff going out there. I brought my canvas, I brought my easel, brought my paints, brought my hammock. You know, got my whole vibe set up. Got some incense going on, and I made some shroom tea. I think it was a fair amount. It was about 4.5, 5 grams, something like that. And I was like, hey, I mean, if you want to have a moment where you're going to break emotionally, it's cool to set the setting in which that is going to set, right? Like that's going to take place. So, so I boiled the tea, and the funny thing was, like, I had this ego shot come up of like, I don't know, this weird refraction of like, you know, what if this is a bad trip? You know, like, what if you're not ready? Like, all this like weird shit, like you're the psychedelic person, whatever. Like, you know, it's like this internal chatter got super loud. So I had to like
after you took them?
Before yeah, I'm sitting with the tea.
Oh, wow. And
so I was like, all right, man, hey, like I had to like really set some serious intention and ceremony to this. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna honor this or whatever. And so I took about a third of it, waited 5-10 minutes, took another third, and let that settle in. And about 20 or 30 minutes later, I was like, fuck it. You know, I came here for something. And so I just took the rest of it. And as I did that, or sometime around then, all these little Bambi deer came running through the campground. That was pretty cool, right? I laid in the hammock and just kind of like let it set in. And I thought for a while, because normally when you brew them, it's about like a 15-20 minute set in. It sets in pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
So I'm about 40 minutes in, and I was like, maybe they're old, not as potent. That's okay. I was like, I did bring some DMT, so I was like, hey, if we need, you know, a emergency exit, if we need like something going on here, I got it. We need to get out of this reality and into the other one. I can force that.
Emergency exit.
So
open that.
Right. So I put on some Ram Dass, and I was just kind of like meditating, hanging out. And I don't know at what point my eyes closed and open. The trees took on 4 dimensions, and I closed them again. And that was just like, you can see when I was journaling kind of my experience, and you can see as the mushrooms are setting in, the letters get bigger and bigger. And soon I'm taking up whole pages, trying to jot down notes and get my thoughts onto paper.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, man, it all wrapped up. It was beautiful. It was just like, I was trying to articulate this experience with a friend, because he was like, hey, what came out of it for you? And for me, it honestly wasn't anything profound, but in that like was the profoundness of it. Just kind of felt like I was just doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do, right? Like I felt called to go camping. I felt called to do the mushrooms. And it was like weird, because I'd felt the urge to like, no, we should go out on a Friday night, or I should go drinking, or like, you just felt like all these expectations. And I just went with what my gut felt. And like, that was the main message that kept coming up, is just like clearing the cobwebs, reconnecting to self. And the thing that made the biggest difference is I went out there with virtually no battery. Like I had my phone on like 11% or like 20%. And I listened to some music, and, you know, I just wanted to make sure if I needed to make an emergency call, I could. But forcing you to just sit with yourself is tough. Like that was the thing that came up, like just listening to nature, listening to my internal thoughts. Like that was really tough. And once I moved past that, I mean, let's move sailing. But
it's interesting you bring that up, because I've really been getting a call to go backpacking by myself. Like I've really been getting an urge to, actually more specifically, either Blood Mountain in northern Georgia, or to go to that, you remember the spot we ended at when we went on the trip up there?
to the AT?
Going back to that spot, but continuing onward. More north, I believe, is where we were going.
Yeah.
And so doing another 20 miles over a weekend by myself. I just bought a backpack for a weekend trip because the pack I had was just too big. It was more for like a week long. So I bought another Osprey pack, 45 liters, for just a good weekend trip. And I'm going to start trying to do those more. What I'm going to try to do is actually, what I'd like to do is start finding like the cheapest tickets to, like, plane ticket to anywhere. I don't care. I'm going to start up there in North Carolina because they're pretty cheap. But I'm just going to find cheap tickets and then find a backpacking spot in that location and just do it, you know, and just see what those spots are like. Because I want to start doing more, like you said, like more, just get on my own. I don't know why I have this calling to do it, but I really want to train so I can do, but it's going to push me because I want to train to do the whole AT trail, the whole Florida trail, and all that. So if I'm going to do it, I need to start basically doing that, finding spots to go hike at and trying them out. And so it's just interesting you bring that up because I've actually had the similar calling just to get out there by myself and go do something. And I think where you're coming from on that is like you're doing it on your own terms.
Yeah.
There's no there's no I have to rely on the bartender doing a good job making drinks. There's no I have to rely on my transportation. There's no I have to rely on other people. That's the biggest one,
Yeah.
Taking care of things. I want to do a personal trip as well. I've been trying to find time to do that one too. I've heard you talk about it, and it's got me wanting to do it.
Oh, have you ever tripped by yourself?
Not yet. Every time I try to plan it, something comes.
Something, right? That's the thing, right? It's something
comes up, and it's just like it's either like something comes up where it throws you out of your vortex to be able to mentally want to do it, or just a plan comes up to where now like you have to go take care of this thing because of it. But I'm going to here soon. I'll have a day to myself to do it. I feel like I'm going to have to force the planning day, to that.
You kind of have to.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, you kind of have to like force. It's so easy for other things to take like more of a priority.
Why does it seem like that? Like, why does it seem like when you want to take something to yourself, it's almost like life throws more things at you to try to distract you?
I think it's because we genuinely enjoy hanging out with other people. I don't know that. I'm just speaking from my perspective. I don't know that either of us have like a people pleasing tendency. I think we just genuinely enjoy like being around other people and doing fun shit. And
I agree. I think we both.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes spending time with yourself and just like the level of intention with that is a bit different than like, hey, I'm just gonna go play some golf by myself or watch a movie by myself, right? Like you're like sacrificing a whole evening, a whole day kind of thing. And so
have you ever, I think it was an episode of Black Mirror where there was I think it was, don't hold me to this, but it was the guy from that, Eric from that 70s show. He was basically like a high level, basically like the creator of Facebook. Let's pretend it's Mark Zuckerberg. And there was an issue that happened. Zuckabug. There was like an issue that happened that someone was going to kill themselves on the platform if they couldn't talk with the CEO. And the executives were doing everything they could to not have to contact the CEO, because he was on his own retreat out in the middle of the desert by himself. So it's his own personal time, and it got to the point where they had to go get him. And then he gets on the phone with the guy, and they disturb him, right? They get on the phone. He was like, "What's the problem, man?" And then he goes, "I just want to let you know that they got me out here. Either kill yourself or get off the fucking channel." Because he was like, "They're not going to believe what I say here. I'm out in the desert. We're over a satellite phone run by the government. You think they're going to do anything? No."
Oh.
It was just like up to that, like at the highest level of someone trying to just get away from everybody, and one person's ruining it on the platform.
Right? Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Oh man, that was just so good. That was just like that. I don't know how I react to that, but that just seems like the way someone should react at that point.
Well, the one thing I would say, like if I had to revise anything about that experience, it's beautiful. Loved it.
No one walked up on you? Or are you just in a good spot by yourself?
No, I mean, it was one of the spots when Michael and I did that 20 miler. It's in kind of like a oval around a lake. And so there's parks along the way. Mm-hmm. And so I looked up on the satellite a way to access one of the spots that we really liked. And so I was able to like kind of go through these neighborhoods and find an access point. And so instead of it taking 4 hours to get to, it only took me about 15. I was pretty fucked up when I went in there because I was like following like water channels and stuff. Like I was going through like there's probably a proper term for that, but just kind of like following the topography, right? Where like the water would cut in so I could go under branches. And then I realized,
yeah,
I could just cut into the path and then cut back. And I realized that on the way out. Anyway, it was fun trying to get there. I got scratched up. But the only thing I would change is being a bit more secluded, because I was worried about people rolling up on me. And I mean, when you're that far into it and you want to let go, there was a couple urges that I had to like really want to scream Just like it's as if part of my psyche took on a different role, like that internal chatter, like, you know how they say, like, you are not your thoughts, right? So like whatever the watcher is in your head, that is kind of this voice, this internal narrator. There was a dialogue going on between my consciousness and that narrator. And so there was like this interesting dichotomy taking place of me wanting to understand what the narrator's needs were. Some people would call it like ego, whatever. And my consciousness, where I felt like a part of everything, right? Where it's like the trees are me, I'm the fish, the water is flowing through. So it was like this ether permeating everything I was experiencing. And the narrator, the watcher, the ego, whatever, was trying to integrate into that, but didn't understand that. And so there's like this conflict taking place, but kind of wrapped up in love, like bacon. You know, I was like, this is juicy. But at other times it was contentious and I wanted to like express this energy. But I also was like, hey, I don't want anybody rolling up on my campsite, because there was like fishers that were coming by, like night fishermen, because there was a cool little part of the lake where there was some dead woods, and they'd come by with headlamps on and shit and look for fish. So being able to like freely fucking freak out would have been nice. I didn't need to freak out, just having the option to if I wanted to would have been cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
They get eat up by mosquitoes up
Not
there?
a fucking one
Or
of
they're
them.
bad?
Not a fucking one of them.
Wow.
I brought the bug spray. One of the cool parts was there used to be a lavatory pretty close to this campsite. And when I was fishing, I ran up on it, and they had basically done away with everything but the shitter, the toilets. So in the morning, I woke up, made me some nice tea, and I'm like watching the sunset come up, and I got like the whole lake at my feet, and people are coming by on their boats, and I'm just sitting on the shitter, just taking it in, son, just taking her in. I was like, man.
Sounds like at a festival, instead of like closing it, but because you have a nice view of the sunrise for your morning shit at a festival, you're like, I don't really leave this one open. I don't care who walks by.
But
this
like
morning.
at the top of a rolling hill, right? Where it's like you're still having an intimate, like if someone wanted you to know that they see you, all they got to do is turn their head. You can't really lock eyes, but you can most certainly make out the facial features of like, you're looking at me.
You have that thought process like, that's your problem from looking.
Well,
at
I did take on that perspective until, we're only talking like 7 hours later. So there's still some residual mushrooms flowing through me for sure. And then I had this like thought of like, what if somebody comes by on their boat and they have a kid and this is like indecent exposure, but they can't like see my wiener. But like, what if, all right, man, we got to finish this up. We got to pack up. I got to get the fuck out of here. So it's like this, like, I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe that was the mushroom's way of telling you to wrap it up.
I don't know.
We're like, hey, let's plant this thought.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I'd like to start growing some mushrooms. Our buddy moved to Tennessee. He's growing some. He's telling me about it.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I think
Another Tennessee trip.
got to do it, right? Tennessee's good for the soul. I could see why they're the first volunteers. They're like, our heart's happy. Fuck it. We'll just go fight for something,
Yeah. Just throw us out there. We don't really care. We'll pull the
We're
levers.
good old boys. Speaking of fighting, you see all the shit that go down with Nancy Pelosi? We were talking about her trades, but how about the gumption behind her?
I love it. I don't even know why she's over there.
She was only over there for a couple
Like, she's
hours. I mean,
making
it was like planned forever ago, and then China's the one that made a big deal.
Well, they're just like, what are you doing in Taiwan? I thought you said you didn't. We go and announce that we don't support their independence, but then you're over there almost in a way supporting their independence. Like, which way are you going here?
Wait, what do you mean? We didn't announce that we don't support their independence?
One of Biden's aides literally came on at a press conference and said, we do not support Taiwan's independence. You can Google it.
I mean, that might have been,
right
that's one of those, normally they're having to back down what Biden's saying, but the U.S.'s stance on all of that.
It was weird. It was weird. That's what I'm saying. It was weird that he said that. I don't know where it came from or why he said that, but those are words that came out of his mouth.
Yeah, there's some kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Biden's got some sort of relationship with China that's really weird.
U.S. clear about one China policy, doesn't support Taiwan independence. Kirby. That must be. Is Kirby the guy you're talking about? One of the aides?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think what the whole idea here is that we don't support the idea that Taiwan can be independent because of the agreement in place. They're supposed to integrate into China, I think, in like 15, 20 years. That's the whole thing. So we're exercising our right to protect basically our resources right now, like the chip exports rather. I don't know. I don't know enough on that geopolitical bombshell to fucking really comment.
I just hope we have our own chip maker by that point, which supposedly we are. We supposedly got Samsung supposedly building a big one there in Austin.
Yeah, dude, it's like 5 minutes from my house. 7 minutes.
Yeah. They need to hurry up.
It's like one of the largest land purchases in Austin's history. Yeah, I mean, they bought up a fucking ton of space.
It's just interesting that all the chips have somehow, like, it's almost like a missed opportunity that the world didn't figure out until recently, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, the chips. How do we forget about them?"
That's just how shit works. So I mean, people don't.
You would have thought some business people out there would have been like, "Hey, we should, the chips are getting pretty low. There's a demand here. Maybe we should make those."
Well, did you see that the Ford CEO came out recently and renounced the dealership model? He was like, "Yeah, we can't be going through deal." Yeah,
Really?
It was a big fucking deal. He was like, "We're trying to figure out a way to get away from the dealership model." And
you mean Carvana? What the?
I mean, well, that's what Tesla doesn't have a dealer, right? They go direct to consumer. They have a dealer, but it's a delivery dealer.
Well,
so like they don't.
You go to the Tesla model, isn't it? Like if you go in a mall or something, they have like a place rented out, and then you go, "I like this. Let's design it out," and you can pick a day, I think, to go test drive it. So they'll give you like option, like a day, come on this day, and you can test drive it if you want.
Yeah, I believe their dealer centers are nothing more than service centers and pick up, test drive locations. Like, I mean, I don't even think you can place an order there. Maybe.
I wonder if he did that because of what they've done for the past with the Maverick, the new electric one that came out, and the Ford Bronco, because you had to pre-order those, and the new F-150, the electric. They saw they got a ton of pre-orders. So I wonder if they did it that way because they just knew people would buy it anyways.
Well, I saw one guy online that was like, getting real irate defending the dealers and how they're small businesses, but at the same time, a lot of the attention, he's like, way to go forward for shifting the blame of the chip shortage onto dealers. But at the same time, on the other end of the spectrum, I mean, the dealers are the ones that are, like when I was trying to buy my truck, it was nearly impossible to buy a new truck. I mean, there's no inventory, right? So they are going off the market demand. So they're totally allowed to charge whatever the fuck they want. But when you see a electric Ford that was selling for $200,000, brand new, they like bought it and then put it back at 2,000 miles. So they like did some shiesty shit so that they could sell it for whatever they wanted. But it was basically a brand new truck for $200,000. MSRP on it, I think, was, I don't know, 70, 80, something like that. So.
Dang.
But if that's getting the most noise, if that's
I mean,
getting the most attention, like no wonder that's why, know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of dealers that do some shifty stuff too. So I guess it depends on each dealership. Like I remember going to the one one of the Ford dealerships in Tampa I bought a car from, and I go to a different one here in St. Pete, and there's definitely a difference in like quality of service and like level of like that something's shady's over there and something's not shady over here. You know, comparison.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it rolls. I have mad respect to anyone in the car industry, though. Like, that is a really hyper-competitive industry. And, yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. If you can make it in the car industry, you can make it anywhere, right? That's like some Grant Cardone level sales where it's just hardcore, eat your heart out sales.
I remember a friend asked me once, like, hey, all right, so you're in sales. What would you sell if, like, this didn't work out? And I was like, I don't know. I'd just go to another tech or whatever. And they were like, would you ever go into car sales? And I was like, hell no. Hell
Tough
no.
spot to be in, right?
I will literally go shovel dirt for a construction company before I do
Which wouldn't be bad. I mean, honestly, construction.
It wouldn't be bad. I'll go pay $50,000 to go learn how to weld before I go sell on a floor. The reasoning is because like it's so competitive, like you said, that like people do shady shit to get around you to get things done and get like deals done. That I would just get extremely pissed.
They'll do whatever it takes, man. They will do whatever it takes to get a deal done. But sometimes they won't.
Yeah.
You know, they'll just tell you fuck right off. And I mean, that's just the thing where it's like, I don't know. I mean,
but I've also heard people getting pissed too at dealerships because they'll walk into a dealership and just people like there's so many cars being sold these days. They won't even walk up to you anymore to make the deal. They're just like all sitting around on their phone.
Yeah.
Like not even trying to make a deal anymore.
I mean, it's one of those things like sales. I had a meeting with a guy when I was selling Cutco and I was pretty young. And, I think he was the VP for HP, Hewlett Packard, or Dell, one of the two. And he was like the VP for sales for, I don't know, North America, something like that. A really, really large area. I mean, the house was fucking stupid because I was sharpening his knives, and I just remember how many precautions we took to protect his table. He was like, hey, motherfucker, you know. I was like, hey, I get it. All right. So, but one of the pieces of wisdom that this asshole gleaned to me was sales isn't that hard. Because I was like trying to pick his brain. He could tell I was a really enthusiastic, like, he basically, I can't understand, man, when you're that high up in sales, you've got that so many resources at your disposal. Wouldn't you be jacked up for a direct sales kid to come across your doorstep? Like, remember that chick that was trying to sell us suits or whatever? And like,
yeah,
like I get so fired up when there are like young people approaching me, like trying to do like a referral based business. I get fired fucking up for that kind of shit.
I like going through the process. I'm like, or hearing the pitch. I like hearing a pitch at least.
Yeah.
See what's going on. Like I've gone through multiple of them, and I'll tell them. Well, anyway, continue on. I get where you're coming from. Basically.
Oh, no, the only thing I was going to say about that, though, was he said, hey, sales isn't hard. You just basically do what you said you're going to do. And, I mean, it's very simplistic, but on the surface, but, like, when you think about it, that is true of sales. If you show up, if you do the things you say you're going to do, you will get extremely far. If you do the role play, you're saying you're going to do. You memorize the script, like you said you're going to do. You do the follow-up calls, like you said you're going to do. You do the outreach. I mean, if you just do the things that you said you were going to do and hold that as the line of, like, your integrity, is like, hey, I'm not going to do that. If you just know that everything you say you're going to do, if you close the gap between what you say you're going to do and what you actually do, you'll be a fucking killer in sales, you know, from an integrity standpoint.
I definitely see that. Because a lot of times newer salespeople, I get where he's coming from on that. Because if you do the newer salespeople, they're yes people, so they say yes to everything, not realizing they can't do that. So they'll be like, yeah, and then they realize they go back to the person that actually makes that decision, and they're told they can't do that. Then all of a sudden, oh well, then you told me you could, but now you're backing down. Why not? and then their competition is saying, no, we can't do that. That's like, this is the type of company we are. And then the guy goes, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this guy tell me? How many more times is that going to happen working with this company?
Well, so that's in a little bit more of a corporate structure, right? Where your life cycle of sale is a bit longer, right? And then something.
Yeah, I'm thinking that because I got like a 6-month sales cycle. So
is that how long it is on average? 6 months?
it could, yeah, well, for the bigger ones, yeah, it could be. I've got a big one right now. We're closing. It's like going to be like a 200 head company. It's been probably a year of working with them to try to close that, and then a small deal you can get closed in a month or two. You know, like a 10 head thing. But once you get to like 20 heads, sometimes that takes 3 months. You get to like 40 heads, and it's 6 months because there's just so much more decision making. And like, you're not just making a sale on one piece, you're making a sale on basically their entire company's process. Yeah. And so it takes a while.
It is funny, man. The bigger companies get, just the longer it takes. But one of the funny things is typically like the further you go up, like when you get to the C-suite people, those guys are fucking badasses, man. Like, I mean, well, that's what I was going to say. I've run into plenty of guys where you can tell they just sold their soul. They settled, right? I'm talking about the Gray Eagles, man. Those guys where you can tell they are just seasoned, peppered veterans in that world, and they have just settled in. They're so comfortable in their skin in the world of sales and business, and they're like the guys that appear like you can feel the energy of someone that has a good home life. You know what I mean? Like, loves his life, loves his family, just is living the life he wants to live, and is like high up in a company. Those guys make snap decisions. They're like, no, this makes fucking sense. Like, just tell him, push this through, whatever. That makes sense. I like you.
Yeah, our CEO is kind of like that. He's like in his 70s. Dude is like rocking like a fit bod too. Gets up at like 4 or 5 a.m. He can deadlift like 400 pounds. Like, it's crazy. The guy is, and he just like, you just see him every time. He comes from a sales background. He's always smiling. He gets on a call with executives, or like when he does the earnings calls, like all the big banks know him. They're like, hey, Burton, what's up? And he's like, oh, hey, Jeff.
Hold on. Hold on. The puppy is, he's in the office, and this could be chaos.
Uh-oh. Chaos puppy. I remember growing up with a puppy, and that thing was everywhere. We had a black lab. Woo! He was dragging my ass all across the yard sometimes, and I try to control him.
Dude, the computer just shifted, and the camera just shifted. Oh, man, my heart was like, that's why I was like, oh, I got a present, a tennis ball. That's cool. And so I just dropped it back on the floor, and everything just went. Okay, so we're back. We're back. But, 70, and he's deadlifting 400 pounds? What is that about?
Dude is a monster. Yeah, he was. And I say that only just because people have witnessed it. Like when they've, because some people will like work out with him in the headquarters there in California. And be like, oh yeah, he's up early doing that. And when you see him on trips and stuff, he's always happy. He's a short guy, but he's got all kinds of energy when he's out there. And then you saw like there was another guy, sales guy, when I first started at my company. Just like hyper, high level, like, yeah, man, like whatever you need, we're going to make it happen. And now he's one of the executives at Google.
Really?
That's what, and they're salespeople. Yeah. You know, so I've seen some of like you're talking about, like the silver foxes where they're just like, we know what we're doing and we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Type of people.
Yeah. There's a guy that was at a mastermind. He spoke at a mastermind. John Oberg. He was one of the co-founders of Priceline. And it was so cool to hear him talk about his approach to business. I mean, this was a guy, like when he was talking about some of the companies he was helping when he was at like 300-400 million in true worth, like he had exited, right? So like that was his payout. So he's sitting on a fair amount of money, and he's looking at what he's doing next and helping these companies. And what he would do for product research, they would do like a small launch. He would go to Walmart. He would go to the place where it's stocked and spend all day just watching customers interact with the product and would interview them after they picked it up, selected it. Hey, why'd you do it? Why didn't you get with this? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, to think how much this man is worth and what he values going back to like the ground floor. And he would just go all the way up. And his approach to things was just like, you're like, hey, that's simple enough. I can do that. But it's one of the things that's like hard to wrap your head around.
Well, I think that's somebody that, because I know what you're talking about in that mindset. I think that's someone that has the mindset of only I know how to do it correctly, but they're not someone that's just telling people what to do. Like you said, they're going to go to the ground floor and figure it out and then direct people. Like, hey, this is something I noticed and this and that. I think that's a level, that's a good level of leadership. That's someone that recognizes how they are. They're like, only I know how to do this, right? Which is usually a bad thing in most companies. And then they're being assholes and trying to tell people how to do things. But instead, he goes on the ground floor, figures it out, and now he's like, okay, I do know how to do this, but I'm actually figuring out with my employees how to do it.
For sure. Like definition of a guy like, hey, I'm going to figure out at 100% because I know I can. And as long as you do it at 80%, we're going to be great.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the mark of amazing entrepreneurship. And, I've always thought about this. Like, do you see yourself ever wanting to start your own company? Like your own kind of business? Or do you feel...
Already did.
Well, not, aside from the real estate bit, do you see yourself wanting to create like any kind of other business?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I definitely want to have like multiple things going one day, once you can afford it. And not only a business that like, oh yeah, I can afford it, but like, hey, I enjoy this thing. It'd be cool to just have my own business that also does that and just feel like, oh, I feel like I can do it a little bit better. But also when I have that, I have the money to be able to do that if the business doesn't work out, I try
right.
Type of situation.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's kind of just the interesting thing that I see about the friends and the people I'm connected to that like start their own businesses. Like they love business, like waking up to challenges, like fixing things, right? And so,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
Like when we go to music festivals, I'm always the type of person. I do this with like James and Joey too. Is like I'll go and like I try to like look around at the business people. Like I actually try to find sometimes like I'll see an executive go by that's like you could see them looking at things and just be like, oh, that person's not here like to have fun. They're actually looking to see how everything's controlling and working. And then you'll see like someone with like a hoodie on, but then you see them with a clipboard and they're like taking inventory for something. And I'm like, I like to find all the business things going on. Like I want to see, okay, that's how the money's being made. That's what's being tracked.
Mm-hmm.
There's the numbers that are being tracked type of thing. I always like looking at those at a festival just to understand what's happening. And so I always try to understand, too, how businesses work or when businesses make decisions. Like, I always try to go in depth. Why did they make that decision? Why did that happen? Where's the gain from it?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the trippy things about festivals is that they actually run way thinner margins than most people would think. So, like, Insomniac, for example, they lose on a ton of festivals because of the ones that make them. Like Coachella is like a rock star baby unicorn as far as profit goes. But I don't remember who owns Bonnaroo. It could be Insomniac.
I think it's the opposite. I think Coachella is one of the big ones that they don't make a ton of money on. And I think the other ones, the smaller ones, are the ones that they make a ton of money on. Because think of Coachella, right, and the size that it is. I don't know. What's the number of Coachella? 80,000, something like that. 100,000. Let's say 100,000.
Tickets are premium price though.
They are premium price, but it's not that far off from, let's say, like Okeechobee Music Festival. It's not that far off when you start getting to the tiers. the level, almost every other person at Coachella is some sort of headliner at any other
True.
festival, right? I think Coachella is like their, hey, look who we are, but they're not making a ton of money off of it. But they can go and say to Okeechobee, hey, this is an Insomniac run festival. We can now charge premium higher at this one than you were charging before.
Yeah.
I think that's how they're. I think you're, what you were saying, but flip it.
Dude, speaking of flip shit, you see what Brian Thomas up to? You see the home base lineup?
Yeah.
How epic is
That's
that, man? Dude has got Flosser Dominus, High Wolf. I mean, I was going down the list. I'm like, okay, dude, I see you, man. That is super exciting.
Yeah. He's got some big stuff happening down there. And then there's Slumberland. You see what his business partner was doing too? Slumberland. It's a 21 and up festival. It's happening at the same time as Daryl. Yeah, he's doing the same time as as home base, but now it's a 21 and up, and it'll shuttle to EDC as well. So they're doing 2 festivals. He's just running that one.
Dude, talk about taking over the world, man. I'm like,
yeah, they're
go,
crushing
big
it.
dog. You go, man. It's so excited to see your homies come up like that. You know, like we'll have to do a round 3 at some point. Get them back on. You know.
I want to hear. Yeah, I would like to do it after this home base one that he does in November, because I know he's swamped trying to get that ready. But I'd like to hear, because I think he improved it a lot. I think he changed venues, so it'd be cool to understand what that shift was like. To be like, okay, now we've upgraded a festival from what it was before. What does that shift look like?
Yeah, that'd be something I'd be down to fly back for, man. We could start taking the approach of like the Logan Paul, the Impulsive, you know, where they'd like take their set to different places and shit. I think that's super cool. Yeah, they have like a lot of different backdrops they'll do. I mean, he has a team and they just set it up wherever he's going. Yeah, so one of the things I was talking,
we should set up an LLC, and these are write-offs going back and forth.
Yeah, dude, no, I already have an LLC. It's called Impossible Moments. And so,
meet a professional hippies one.
Well, that's doing business as. I can do it under the same likeness. So I have it set up as an event company, so I can kind of do it as a lot of different stuff. But yeah, man. So I mean, to kind of like bring us home here, one of the last things I was going to bring up before the podcast, that you saw the Logan Paul fight got canceled, right? Did you see that?
Yeah, I haven't.
So he was supposed to fight like a really professional boxer. The guy wouldn't lose the weight, and so now there's talks that he might be fighting Andrew Tate. Wouldn't that be pretty sick?
That's wild.
Two big fuckboys on the internet. I think everybody wants to see get knocked out, and so I'm like, that'd actually be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I've been craving to watch a good fight, so we'll see what comes to that. But
there were some good UFC fights on last weekend. That Amanda Nunes one was awesome.
Yeah, I got to see the highlights of that. The Derek Lewis, man, I felt bad for him. He didn't look knocked out. He didn't look like that was a TKO, but
dude, he went face first into the mat. You're gonna get called on that every time.
It's a big man. Looked like he was going down to tie his shoes.
He was already getting. I saw it. I saw everyone getting crazy about it. He already got wobbled.
Oh, he was fucked up for sure. Like, is it a bad call?
20 seconds before
Do
that.
I want to see it keep going? Yeah. Yes.
And then, of course, because you've seen people come back from the brink multiple times. I think that ref, though, I forgot his name, great ref, but I think these refs, they were getting in trouble for letting things go on too long. And it's like, if you're going to get in trouble for letting things go on too long or calling it early, you'd rather get called early than someone to get really brain damage from it.
I mean, I feel him, dude. Brain damage isn't fun. I got plenty of it.
That's right. Aaron Rodgers went and did ayahuasca.
Oh, dude. And he went on the Aubrey Marcus podcast. I'm going to have to listen to that. Thanks for...
Yeah. Me too. He went, he did everyone... I love how everyone was speculating that. Like, he definitely did something. He went somewhere and did something and came back. And a lot of people were like, mushrooms, ayahuasca, or LSD. One of the three happened.
Yeah, I'm fired up to see what the Bucs do this year. Julio Jones getting signed into him. I mean...
Yeah. He'll be great for 3 games.
Who knows, right? I mean, shit. It is about the run. I mean, they're not necessarily built for longevity, but they are built for fireworks. So,
Well, I mean, he's always good for 3 games, and then he twists an ankle. Then he'll be like, "I'll be back for playoffs."
well, the cool thing was I saw an interview where he was like, "Hey, I'm really okay being down in the depth chart." He's like, "I'm okay being wide receiver 3, 4." He's like, "They need me to make big plays, not a lot of plays," and that's true. You know,
Because the man wants a Super Bowl.
that's it.
Why. This is his last chance.
He told him, he was like,
"I'll do what
Green
it
Bay,
takes."
the Colts, he's like, they offer me a lot more money. But he was like, at this point in my career, he's like, I'm good on money. He's like, I want a ring. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little bit different in football too, because, you know, the amount of players that cycle through versus something like the NBA, when you create like a super team, like you saw, like, I mean, I don't know. It just feels a little different where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of talent there, but that doesn't feel as guaranteed as creating like a super pack, like when Miami had LeBron and Dwayne. And
it's hard to build one for NFL.
It's tough,
you know, because you can only get a few. It's tough. You can only because you got to pay them for one, and then you have more players. Then let's say you get 3 or 4 good superstars. You know, you still need a line to protect that. To protect the QB to get it out there. I mean, I think the Browns are actually kind of a great example of that, right? They had 3 or 4 of the top best receivers in the league a couple years ago and had one of the best defenses, but then their line was shit. They didn't have as good of running backs. No, they had Chubb. They had great running backs, but that line was terrible. They couldn't.
Dude, I can't believe that stuff that happened with them wanting to get rid of Baker and Deshaun. I mean,
that's such a Brown move. That's such a Browns move. How are you going to get rid of the guy that helped you get to the playoffs in who knows how many years? He's a fan favorite.
Big fan favorite. The effort, I earned so much respect for that guy watching how hurt he was, rally his team into the playoffs. I mean, that dude was fucked up getting his Browns to the playoffs, and he did everything he could to make that happen.
You know where Baker Mayfield thrives? Is in doubt situations like this. You know what the first game of the Panthers season is? The Browns. Guess who's not
Sean
playing?
Watson.
Sean Watson. What a Brown.
Oh, man.
They deserve every inch of that. They deserve every inch coming at them right now.
Yeah, that is.
For that. That's such a. They were on a move. Everyone was like, "Yeah, the Browns are doing good. They got this Baker Mayfield. They got Obi over here. You know, they're doing all right. They got Chubb. If they can just get this line sorted out, and then all this happens, and then they go, "Yep, we're back to the Browns again."
Dude, for real, the amount of future they gave away to get Deshaun too was the crazy part.
It's like what? How the huge risk that's happening from that, and now they even hired a new. They just got a former New Jersey Attorney General, I think, to investigate the appeal that the NFL filed for 6 months suspension.
Well, 6 games. 6 games. Yeah.
Or 6-game suspension. So dumb.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, dude.
But football's back tonight, baby. Game just started.
Who is it?
There's a preseason game tonight.
Sick. I want to check that out.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch it when I get off of this. I think it's the Raiders and Jaguars.
Go Jags. Go Jags.
Sure.
All right, man. Let's land this plane. Take her away, buddy.
All right, everyone. Well, hey, we hope you enjoyed another episode of the Professional Hippies podcast. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. If you're going to go to Burning Man, let us know. We're trying to get there. We will be there. We'll see you there. Until the next episode.